You are listening to the Lawyer Stories podcast with host Benny Gold. Lawyer Stories was founded in July 2017 on Instagram and is an expanding global network of lawyers and law students sharing their personal journeys to the noble profession of the practice of law. Join us on this podcast as we dig deeper into these stories and hear from lawyers and law students from around the world in all areas of the legal profession. Here at Lawyer Stories, we believe that every lawyer has a story. What's yours?
Welcome to the Lawyer Stories podcast with Benny Gold. Today we have a special guest with us, and we'll get right back to him in a moment, but first a message from our partner and friends at CallRail. How many high-value cases did you lose in the past year because your firm couldn't respond fast enough? 81% of law firms say slow response time cost them business, sometimes nearly a quarter of their annual revenue. That's why you need CallRail in 2026. It's going to be integrated right into your case management system, help you capture every call even after hours, spot high-value leads instantly, respond faster, and gain the insights you need to bring bigger and better cases. Join over 3,000 firms using CallRail to follow up faster, land bigger cases, and drive real growth. You can start your free trial today. Send me a message. I'll get you set up with that. The link is also in our bio. Now back to our guest, Brett Rhodes. Let's give you a, how you doing, man? Let's give you a proper intro here.
Yeah, well, thank you, Benny. I'm doing great out here in sunny California, Northern California, wine country.
It's awesome, man.
And I know we've been trying to get together for a bit here, so I'm glad we're able to do that.
Yeah, totally. Excited to have you on. Our guest, Brett Rhodes, is the founder of Rhodes Law in Sonoma County, California. Sounds warm. Where he helps families create estate plans that protect loved ones and preserve legacies. Brett has over 25 years of experience in public service law enforcement in the legal field, and has been recognized as Best Attorney in Sonoma County 2025. Congratulations. Best Trust and Estates Attorney 2026, and a Super Lawyer's Rising Star. He's also been featured as Sonoma Magazine's Face of Estate Planning. That's awesome. Welcome to Lawyer Stories, man. Good to finally get you in.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, I appreciate the intro. Worked hard for those things, but yeah, I appreciate you having me on. I know we've been trying to do this for a while, and just for what you do, the stories that you tell about, the attorneys, our journey, and I know you've had a lot of great recognized names. Judge and then also Nancy Grace and a few others.
Yeah.
It's just great to finally connect with you and
Thanks,
have
man.
an opportunity to tell my story.
Yeah, totally. And I feel like I know you still already since through like all like the social media stuff and everything.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
Thanks for coming on, taking time out of your day. I know it's
Absolutely.
like it can get difficult and busy, but so let's start with the beginning, like your story. We did feature you about a year ago on Lawyer Stories. So like just give us a little background, like where you grew up.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I'm a California native.
Nice.
I originally from Escondido, California, which is near San Diego.
Okay.
And then predominantly in Santa Cruz, and then relocated to Sonoma County in '86, and been there ever since. I got deep roots in that community. Went to high school, college, law school there.
That's awesome.
And Sonoma County is just north of San Francisco in wine country. So Sonoma County, Napa, we're all in that wine region.
Sounds pretty nice, actually. I gotta say. I mean, I woke up to like a half inch of snow on my car today. Like, 'cause I was at a conference. I have a garage, but I was at a conference. It was outside. It's like, and it's like it's March. It's like crazy.
Yeah.
You're talking about wine country over there, but all right. So anyway, tell us what like sparked your interest in justice and protecting others. I mean, I know you, and with that, I know you're really involved with the community, and I think that that's a really cool thing. And so like what really got you interested in being in justice and protecting others?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think this originated far back, than I had even contemplated. I mean, this went as far as back as, the high school days where, you'd be in Boy Scouts or Explorers or some type of sports group.
Right.
And just growing up in the 80s and seeing police shows and what have you, Law and Order and Cops and CHP shows, that just got me really interested in. And I spent a tremendous amount of time, trying to determine which path I wanted to take. I knew I enjoyed the law. And I had, my father was an attorney. My grandfather was attorney.
Wow.
I have a couple of uncles that also were attorneys. So it was in the family on both sides. And so ultimately I decided to take the step into law enforcement. That was initially where I spent a lot of time just, working with the law at that level, law enforcement, and promoted up through that. And a lot of attorneys, they have a history either in law enforcement, they dealt with it at some point, and they go, hey, I'm going to take a transferable skill set and, have more of an impact as a lawyer in helping the community that way. So it was great. It was an easy segue for me.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. I want to talk a little bit about more of that in a little while. So early on, you volunteered at legal aid clinics and that sort of thing. What did you take from that sort of experience?
Yeah, I did that predominantly during law school. I volunteered at a variety of law clinics, family law, elder law, small claims clinics. What I really took away from that was the genuine interaction with clients and community members. Those are things that you don't traditionally just get in textbook law school classes, right? You're just getting the law. So this had an opportunity to do some community service, but also really understand how to apply the law. Right. So here's what I'm learning. I'm able to apply it in these clinics and really see the benefits of what you can do.
Brett, I'm intrigued about the law enforcement background too. Like, can you just tell me a little bit more about that? Like, what stage of your life you went into law enforcement? Like, what branch and sort of like what you were doing?
Yeah. So I started just in traditional law enforcement patrol. I think
you just cut out. You cut out a little bit just there when you just said that. So
I started right out of college.
Okay.
And just as a patrol officer, worked my way up as a field training officer, and then a detective, and then also as a sergeant. So just kind of promoting through the ranks.
So you were an actual police officer.
Yes. Yeah.
Wow, that's intense, man.
Yeah. Especially here in California.
That's intense. I mean, how many years did you do that for?
Let's see. Collectively, it was 8 to 10 years between, all the various assignments.
And you rose to like chief of police?
Yeah, I went from California law enforcement, and then the chief position was with under Bureau of Indian Affairs. So U.S. Department of Interior. That was working in tribal lands in California. So same concepts of public safety. You're just doing it in a different environment and with different parameters. So that whole discipline of work was very interesting, and I think it was, you're problem solving, and so that's what you're doing in law as well.
Yeah. So, like, what was that transition like? So when you were doing before the federal stuff you just talked about.
Yeah.
What was the law enforcement? What was the highest rank you got to?
In California, law enforcement was sergeant. Yeah.
Sergeant. Wow. So you put all this time and you become a sergeant. Why the shift to law school? And like not only the shift to law school, but you go into estate planning.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think just looking at, what different assignments you can do in a career. Some people just stay in that career forever. Some take those skill sets and say, where else can I do something to have a good work-life balance? That's a touchy issue just across the nation right now, as far as with like law enforcement and that career, whether people even want to do it anymore. And what we have system. So, there was this transferable skill set.
Yep.
I had a lot of mentors that had already been in law enforcement and had gone on to do law school and say, Hey, there's something else to do. So, I still work in government. I still adjunct faculty, and I teach at the police academy.
Oh, that's awesome.
And estate planning, it was, I just saw a lot of benefits to it. Just giving people something that is not necessarily tangible other than the documents. There's a peace of mind. So, and especially in California, huge aging demographic. A lot of people, we all need to do it, right? Father Time's got 100% success rate. We're all going to pass away. So,
oh gosh,
getting stuff dialed in, really gives people peace of mind so they can just kind of refocus on quality life.
So did you ever think about, and it's interesting because, I have a friend that I met through Lawyer Stories, actually. He's been on the podcast a couple of times, and you've probably seen him on LinkedIn or something, but he went from policeman to like a high stakes family law lawyer in New York City. So I asked him this question about, like, how come not like criminal defense or something like that? Like, maybe even immigration. It seems like more of like is that something that crossed your mind or not really?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's a great question too. And it's an obvious question. A lot of people think, hey, well, if you're in law enforcement, why not be a prosecutor? Or why not, go to be a defense attorney? You already know what the test is for a lot of these type of cases, and how they should be written, how they should be done. It'd be perfect to poke holes in those. And just after contemplating that, I just wanted something that was just more rewarding.
Yeah.
Where I could control my schedule a lot more, just being limited in that. And, with estate planning, there's not a set schedule to where you have to be called into court. You can take on as much clients, control when you want to work, versus other areas of law where, you're compelled to be in court. You're compelled to get things done by deadlines. So I'm sure you've interviewed so many different attorneys in their different niches, and, they always have their reasons why. So I just, wanted a good work-life balance, having come from law enforcement where you didn't really have a good work-life balance. You were just working overtime, training, in court, constant hamster wheel of work. Great profession. Miss a lot of things about it, but I also really enjoy the path that I'm on now.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And what about law school? You went part-time while working full-time?
Absolutely.
Tell us about that.
Yeah, I think that's just in my DNA, to be honest with you, Benny. I just have always had a good work ethic, good time management, and balancing everything. I think during college, I worked full time. I went college classes. I did internships. So I was just used to that early on. So when I went to law school, it was, well, this is all I know, is to be able to work, go to law school, and just operate at that level. So I didn't know any different. That's just your wiring sometimes.
Well, I think that there's like one of my friends who's also like, he's an attorney actually, and he's a very busy person. He said, if you want to get something done, give it to the busiest person, right? Is that something you've heard before?
Yeah. Or I'll learn, hey, when are you going to slow down?
Well, that's opposite, but yes.
Yeah. It's trying to pull the reins in, because, I do stay busy, and I do just like that energy. I derive a lot of satisfaction from staying busy and doing well. So whatever I do well at it, if I'm getting some, accolades from other attorneys or the community, or, featured in something, that just shows me that my efforts are doing well. And, I just put my heart and soul into whatever I do, because I want to do it well. And I'm sure you can relate, right? You want to be able to do the same thing with your podcast and a lot of the other things that you do. If you're going to do it well.
Do it well. I love it. I think that's great advice and a great mantra. So tell us, did you have any mentors, Brett, along the way? Like, did you hit a point that somebody kind of took you under your wing, maybe for estate planning or whatnot?
Well, I think I've had a lot of great mentors in my life. My father especially, and colleagues, friends. I've had a great friend that I went to college with, known him for 30 plus years.
Wow.
He's a stalwart from Massachusetts, as I was mentioning,
Nice.
And so, having those great friends that lift you up and I'm only to where I'm at just because I stood on the shoulders of others. They really propped me up, and going to law school, balancing all of that, it's got its peaks and valleys. So you have to rely on this system
Yeah.
of friends and mentors that have done it before, that encourage you, that give you pointers. It does take a village to succeed. You're not just hatched into doing that.
That's true. Totally. So tell us about starting your own firm. Like, when did you know, like, I'm an entrepreneur, like, I don't want to work for anybody, like, it's just
Sure.
in my DNA, as you kind of talked about, like, to launch
Yeah.
my own firm.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think, if you've gone this far in life, you've either attended a class or had a boss or had some experience where you're like, I'm not going to do that, or I don't want to be controlled in that type of environment. And the only way to do that is to be in charge of your own path, right? So I would say, being in a solo, small office where you're doing everything, you have to set yourself up for success by doing a lot of planning, researching what's going to work, staying within your means, and don't try to go too big too soon and scale. um, you know Focus on getting a blueprint done right and then building out. So uh, for me, it just came down to a style thing. I just didn't want to be an associate attorney where I'm working in a big law firm,
Right.
and you're one of a dozen attorneys handling a particular area of law, and
Yep.
it's about billable hours. You have to get working on the weekends, you're working at night. That to me was the type of environment I was trying to get away from in law enforcement, was that hamster wheel. And so I didn't want to trade one thing for another. And
Yeah.
the practice of law, you can do so many different things. You can be a generalist attorney. You can just be in a niche. So it just called to me about, wanting to be my own boss, had a lot more control. I've had headhunters try to connect with me and say, hey, you're doing so great. You get all these things. Would you like to maybe come aboard to our firm?
Really?
Yeah,
Yeah, and
but
bring your whole book of business, right?
yeah, bring your whole book of business.
That's what they say, right?
So it just called to me, and that it has to feel right for you, right? So if you ever tried out working small in starting your own business, about having to research, is there a market for this? How do I train up on that particular area? What support do I have? How do I leverage technology, malpractice insurance, all the things? How do I, all those things to be successful, right? I think that is just an extension of what I've always done. It's just another challenge to work on.
So, like, what advice do you have for somebody who's thinking about making the move and launching their own firm?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would definitely say take the time and roll back on some mentors that are already doing it. If they're already successful, buy them coffee or have lunch and just say, hey, can I pick your brain? Like, I'm, very novice to this. I have the drive and ambition. I think I want to go in this direction. How did you do it? There's no sense in reinventing the wheel, right? It's hey, somebody successfully did it. There's a blueprint, and what would I use? What would I not use? So definitely, I think, connecting and networking, whether it's on LinkedIn, whether it's on other social media, bar associations, that expand your network.
Yeah.
Talk to those people. So really spend a lot of time investing in researching what you want to do, at least ballpark it.
Yeah.
And then that way you're like, hey, I'm just not walking into a room blindly and paying money for things and thinking I want to do this.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of things, become unsuccessful for people. It gets too stressful, or, they get burned out, they get discouraged. Those things those outcomes still may happen, but I think there are a lot less if you really network and talk to other people on how they did and how they were successful in their own.
No, I think that's super smart, really good advice. I think, if you're like a law student out there or like a young attorney and you still don't really like what you're doing, find somebody who's in the industry doing what you want to do when you finally figure it out, and just follow them around and like never let them go, sort of thing. If you find that person, because then you could sort of watch what they're doing and see how they're doing it,
And there's nothing wrong with, spending a few years investing in yourself by working at another law firm, just to get that experience, let them develop you. And then if the time is right, then maybe you make that jump.
Yeah.
You're going to learn a lot more of the technical areas of law versus, being a partner or being an owner and all the other things that operate in the background you may not get exposed to. But at least, right out of law school, if you don't have somebody to walk you through it, it might be something to consider as far as getting the experience before you leap out there.
Hi, I'm John Morgan. I didn't wake up one day with the largest injury firm in America. I started with one office and a choice: grow or die. I took calculated risk, built my team, and made lots of mistakes along the way, but also built systems and procedures to avoid those mistakes in the future. I'm doing one seminar, one time, to show you how I did it.
Join me at the Win in Vegas on June 9th. Use code STORIES20.
So, Brett, when you launched the firm, like, what was your mission?
I kept my mission very succinct. I just really wanted to, I first branded myself as really just a boutique law practice, very boutique, very small. I didn't want to gain or, get big. I just wanted, to help a few people here and there, do some community outreach of how important it is to do estate planning, and not just estate planning, but comprehensive estate planning. So I think that's really, what my mission was: stay small, do good quality work, and resonate with the community. I like I mentioned right at the very beginning, I grew up for over half my life now in Sonoma County, and knowing wildland fires or floods or all the tribes and tribulations, you can resonate with people. And when you do estate planning, it's so much built on trust, because you're talking about such important things: their assets, their wealth, their legacy, life decisions. So that's kind of how I branded it. Is you come in and, it's just not, the attorney. It's Brett. We become on first name basis, and, I loosen the tie and, meet them at their level, whatever it is. We have a lasting relationship, not just something that's transactional.
Right. Yeah, totally. You need to have that with your estate planning attorney, in case there are changes in your life and that sort of thing.
100%.
So tell us about, like, are you practicing like near where you grew up? Like, are people coming to you from high school, and are you serving people that you knew of, like, growing up, that sort of thing? Because I always think that that's a really interesting piece when I have somebody on the show that is back in their home place, helping people that either they went to high school with or like they knew from their community, so forth and so on.
Well, it does, on whole, I probably don't serve a lot of people that I, went to school with or interacted in various circles. Occasionally a few, or they always ask about other areas of law, and I have to, refer them out. Sometimes they think that you practice all areas of law. But, it's a good referral network. When you have people that grew up in that area and they're, a leader of a nonprofit or community outreach type of thing, or, something to get the word out, that's hugely helpful. And so if I can then help their clients or help in their work, it's a great opportunity to tap into those prior
Yeah,
relationships.
definitely. So who's coming to Brett for legal services?
Yeah. I wish there were a lot more of the whole multitude of age range, but estate planning, the biggest myth is, oh, it's just for the wealthy, or it's
Right.
I'll do that later in life. That's something that you do, at the later stage of life. And so that's a huge myth. I think not only that I try to dispel, but other estate planners in California, in our region, and across probably the United States. It's never too late to start right now.
Right.
And once you turn 18, you should at least have some basics. Even if you're living at home with mom and dad, you should at least have a will, durable power of attorney, advanced healthcare directive. Those are the basics. And as you start to develop assets, you buy a house and you start to have kids, you have a life insurance policy, and you have a retirement account or a pension, all these assets start to expand. I like to call it expanding the accordion, right?
Nice.
As you collect all those things, then you need more comprehensive estate planning to protect those assets, but also to have people that are making decisions for you. So the average client that I have is, a married couple, owns real property, kids are off to college or will shortly be, medium income in Northern California. Their biggest asset is the home with equity in it. Sometimes it's mortgaged. But that's the average. You'll have somebody that may have less, then you'll have somebody that may have more with, an investment home or
Right.
other homes they've inherited through other means. So, but that's the average client.
So if it's a husband and wife couple that comes into you, like, do they get two different wills, right? Is that what's recommended?
Yeah, I mean, typically, depending upon, and this is why I'm such a big advocate. Hey, listen, meet with an attorney at any means, because that money that you invest is such a huge return on investment. And going online and doing these do-it-yourself programs or what have you that are non-California compliant, or they're not as you're clicking boxes. You're not talking with attorney about all these outcomes. And what I really enjoy is when clients look at each other and they go, we didn't really think about that.
Yeah.
And that's where I think the expertise comes in.
Right.
That's where the value is. So yeah, typically, in a plan, you're looking at a trust that holds those assets. Both spouses have pour over wills. Both spouses have advanced healthcare directives, powers of attorney, final disposition instructions. These are all things that that are in a comprehensive plan and make it a lot more airtight. And so that's usually the type of service. Occasionally, there will be people that need amendments to their estate documents. And I always encourage clients to review estate plans, if not every year, every couple of years, just to make sure things are current. The last thing we want to do is, invest in everything, invest all this time in doing this.
Totally.
And then put it up on the shelf and let it collect dust.
Right. Now, do you keep a copy? Does the lawyer keep a copy and the client keep a copy? Is that how it works?
Yeah, I always scan a digital copy that I retain, and then fully executed copy goes to the client in a digital format, but then they also have the originals.
Gotcha. So how much math is actually involved in taxes and all that stuff? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it probably depends on the estate, like how big the estate is, because I really think you gave a great explanation, like starting from when you're 18, living at home with mom and dad, and then your first asset's a house, and then maybe you've inherited something and that sort of thing. You have like an account for retirement, but is there a lot of math and taxes and all that involved?
Yeah, to some extent. I mean, most estate planning attorneys in California stay within their scope of representation and just, working on the estate planning documents. There are some tax considerations, unless you're like an LLM or, you have other tax expertise, we really limit it and say, listen, if there's anything in the realm of taxes, we encourage you to contact your tax preparer or your CPA. Same thing with the wealth management, firm is kind of have a multidisciplinary approach.
Yep.
As I can have those conversations, the client can, and that those are all considerations in drafting.
Okay, got it. So,
but as far as like regular tax advice on IRS or franchise tax board, those things we usually refer them out to talk with a certified or professional tax preparer.
Okay. And so, Brett, you've often said that estate planning is about people, not paperwork.
Yeah.
So tell us what you mean by that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my clients come in and there's a lot of legal definitions, as it should be. And especially in California, a very litigious state, a lot of attorneys, right? We complete all this paperwork and that's all great. A lot of legal stuff. It's all on there. And I just don't want people to be led into a false sense of security where, hey, I got all these documents, but it's about people because they're also learning. It's a collaborative process. They're learning about what these documents are and how to use them. So when they have these documents, they know who they go to, right? But they've also learned terminology along the way. They've asked questions. They're involved. And when I say it's about people, each plan is, custom. They're not cookie cutter. While there's a lot of similarities, you have to take into consideration assets, people's station in life,
right?
Mixed families, prenuptial agreements sometimes that they had, all different types of things that factor in. So and then identifying who beneficiaries are or people that are going to make decisions. Are they responsible?
Right.
Do they have gambling issues? Are they in and out of jail? Are they, all these other things that you need to consider to say, is this the right person, to make that decision? And so sometimes I have to give hard advice, but it's things that they still need to know. This, I understand you may want to have this person, but based upon what you've told me, I think it would be more prudent to do this.
Yeah, we're not going to select that person. They're going to be in the slammer for a few years.
Sure. And there are alternatives. I mean, if there's family dynamics or, cookies aren't going to be distributed equally, that there are some other tools to address that. You can have a professional fiduciary, corporate fiduciary, somebody that's unbiased in it, that kind of neutralizes the inherent emotions that might occur if somebody else was in charge of one of the children or what have you.
Makes sense. Yeah. So what are the core elements that an estate plan should, that like every estate plan should include?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I kind of touched on it before, but I mean, for comprehensive, a trust, this is all to avoid, there's a variety of different trusts. Most commonly is a revocable trust. There's a lot of flexibility during the lifetime. Sometimes there's reasons for irrevocable trusts. There's gun trusts. There's all different types of special needs trusts, So again, that's why it's really important to be able to assess and inventory a client's, questions, their concerns, what their goals are, and you start honing in on what would be appropriate. Most commonly is you have that form of trust, pour over will provisions, advanced healthcare directives, durable powers of attorney for financial decisions, dementia care instructions, final disposition. Do you want to be cremated? Do you want to be buried?
Wow.
You want a celebration of life?
Wow, really?
You want everyone to show up with Hawaiian shirts and sing a special song. So that's pretty comprehensive. Those are the most common things that you'll see. Less than that, a lot of times people will think, I just need a simple will. And that does not avoid probate proceedings.
Mm-hmm.
A will simply lets you, the judge and everyone else, know, like, this is my preference, but it still goes in to be validated. So most commonly, you want to avoid a whole probate process, and not leave all that cleanup for your family afterwards.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Super important stuff. So the difference between a will and a trust, like, how would you explain that to your client?
Sure. Yeah. And that's a common question, is when I start to hear them interchanging terms and legal terms, that's great. That just lets me know where they're at, and how to approach it. So in all of my comprehensive estate planning portfolios, I insert a glossary of terms.
Oh, nice.
So when they're kind of reading the book and you go to the next chapter and they need to look something up, there's something there to help them with that. It's a tool. Plus the collaborative process along the way of learning, what this is. So I think, the difference really legally, the trust, avoids the probate proceedings altogether. That's a private document. It's meant to have a secure way of passing on wealth and your assets through a private mechanism and avoid court involvement. A will just merely states who you would like to handle your estate and who would get what, but a court's still involved. Okay. So you're still paying a large amount of probate fees in the court process, court fees, appraiser fees, attorney fees, and you're waiting 18 to 24 months for a protracted probate process to happen. And that's just right now in California. We have an aging demographic here in California. It's only going to continue to rise. Yeah. And that timeline is going to continue to get longer. So if you want to avoid having paid double, triple, quadruple in fees, what you would pay in the estate plan, and pass on wealth quickly, you would want to do a trust over a will.
So when somebody passes away, do they contact you, or do they not have to? It's not one of those things where you don't read the will, like in the office. It's more like they just go. They have the plan. They go through it and that sort of thing.
Yeah. I don't practice in the back end of it of estate administration or trust administration.
Gotcha. Okay.
There are attorneys that then brings you into court and you're handling those types of things. So there are other attorneys that do both estate planning and on the back end, estate administration or trust administration. I simply don't.
Gotcha. So tell us about the biggest mistakes you see families make when it comes to estate planning.
Trying to do it on their own.
Yeah, totally.
I think that's just not necessarily my opinion. I think that in professional associations or networking groups, you see this common theme where they're looking for value. I get it. In these economic times, everybody is. But there's certain things maybe we want to scout around and look value on, and other times it's well worth the money. And there's things that you don't want to round the corners on. Legal advice is one of them. So I commonly see clients either calling in and inquiring, or hey, we did this thing online. Will you review it to see if it's
right? Oh, really? Okay.
Which one would you recommend? Or there's marketing on TV. I won't name all the vendors, but there's a lot of them out there where you're just clicking the boxes, and you'll get some documents, but sometimes if you don't really understand what's going on, you're inadvertently clicking wrong boxes and you're getting the wrong outcomes to what you really want.
So when a client comes in, do you get, and I apologize for the sniffles. I still had something last week, but and I'm getting over it. But when a client comes in, do you give them a survey or something, or a questionnaire to fill out so you can better understand where they are before you start the estate plan?
Yeah, usually I will. into the pipeline, I really start with just a real intake or client consult, like what brought you in, and do an inventory of what their questions are, what their goals are, what their concerns are. And really, if you address their concerns and their goals, and then a lot of their questions, that then starts to get us down into what would be appropriate for them to make recommendations. And then from that point, if they're interested in saying, yes, that's what we need, and thank you for the information, we'd like to move forward and retain you, then that's when we would schedule a time to do more of a comprehensive intake. They get a checklist of, hey, bring these documents to me, collect this information, and we're kind of inventorying all the line item things that we would need to produce the documents and develop their estate plan.
Okay, got it. So, excuse me, Brett. Jeez, I can't get rid of this.
And I thought all the allergies were out here in Northern California.
Sniffles, it's awful. Excuse me. So let's talk about, like, you're deeply involved in public service, teaching, leadership. Like, just tell me, like, how those roles influence your legal practice and that sort of thing. Like, just tell me all about it.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever been really one-dimensional. I just, I've always just enjoyed doing so many things. And if I had the opportunity to do other different jobs, I probably would. But this lifetime is not long enough for it.
Yeah.
Sometimes people just stick with one job and they stay there for the whole time. One, because they like it, or two, because they have to. And so I'm really blessed to have the opportunity to do some professions in my life that I really enjoy. And, teaching is another extent of it. Like, I have this experience. I really feel that I can make an impact.
Yep.
And not only just with my professional things that I do, but if there's nonprofits or an opportunity to do some pro bono work where, I could speak. I was a guest speaker at my Sonoma State University, where I went to college.
That's awesome.
And I spoke to their pre-law society, a lot of the same stuff about my journey and what were the obstacles in law school, or what advice would you give? So I enjoy doing that because I think it all returns back to you in your practice, because when you're doing that in the community, they see, hey, you're not just about dollars. You're not just about the bottom line. You're really involved in the community in a variety of ways. And that resonates with people, I think. They look at you as, not just an attorney, but a member of the community. And that also gets you some name recognition too. Like, hey, this person just doesn't practice a law, but they're sponsoring a sports team. They're, participating in a crab feed, or, whatever, community event.
Yeah, no, that's good stuff. So, excuse me. So tell me about the best attorney in Sonoma County in 2025, and like what these awards mean to you. Best Trust and Estates Attorney 2026. I want to, like, what does that mean to you? And tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's always, great to get some recognition from, those particular awards are voted on by the community. Those are readers' choice.
Yeah.
So people are voting for you in the community. So, it's great to have that recognition in the community. Definitely, supports my mission of staying small and being boutique and community oriented. And I think that resonates with people. And so they say, hey, listen, we want the small guy versus the big law firm with all the money and all the, marketing and all that stuff. And I think it also comes down to their experience. So when I've seen reviews that people have written or what have you, a lot of it, like I said, it's not about the paper, and it comes down to the people and how they feel. Like, hey, walked us through the process, answered all of our questions. And when we weren't comfortable about something, took the extra time to make sure that we understood so we were comfortable.
Yeah.
And I think that then, it all circles back to you do the great work, give people a great experience, satisfy their legal issues, and it comes back in the voting,
Yeah, that's amazing.
And like I said originally, when we were talking about mentors and influential things, that when you get moving up and you get things, you're just standing on the shoulders of all those people that put you there. And so, it's got my name on it, but the community put me there.
I love that. And I think I saw on LinkedIn you were at a hearing or speaking in front of a panel or something like that. And I don't know if you.
Yeah, I think a couple of weeks ago, I was in Sacramento at the Capitol.
Okay, share about that a little bit.
Yeah, sure. So I have a variety of different organizations that I'm association with, and that was at a judicial assembly committee, basically legislators, where I was assisting with other colleagues on speaking about, what's out there and what's happening, where the rubber meets the road with law. And by educating legislators, they ask good questions and you present things well. Obviously, there's lobbyists and there's a lot of things in the sausage making process. But if the law is not working or there needs to be a creation of new law, it's important to go to these types of things to express that. Otherwise, you end up with bad law.
Yeah.
So that was just another opportunity to talk and educate, and like as you've learned about me, I just like to do a variety of different things.
Yeah, no, you stay busy. You're out in the community. I love community, so that's kind of cool. Anything that we've left out, Brett, that you want to touch on today?
There's just so many things that we could probably talk about, but I think I've done well in trying to share my story about where I originated with just here in California, and kind of my trajectory of law in different capacities, whether it's in law enforcement, how I transitioned into an attorney, and my practice, and my philosophies about good service and good community. Those are things that I really just want down the line for people to look back and go like, yeah, I like that story, and want to duplicate it.
That's awesome. Brett Rhodes, yeah, you got a great story, and you're doing a lot for the community, and we really appreciate it, and it's great to connect with you, and maybe we'll do another one at some point too. Wherever you are in the world today, enjoy yourselves. Cheers.